Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Mapla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, condemnations from across the board continue rising to the sky after the brutal killing of students of a school in Kumba in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. In the meantime, the administration remains determined to track down the alleged killers and bring them to book. Condemnations have continued rising to the sky almost from all quarters, national and international, after the brutal killing of over 7 students in a school in Kumba 2 subdivision, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and some of the people condemning the latest tragic incident after the Ngarbu incident of 14 February 2020 in the English-speaking regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Are artists who have also taken up their pens to condemn what has been going on, notably the killing of those students. Many of them, over 13, were injured and they are responding to treatment in hospital. Details in this report by Smanjik and Gabriel.
From far and near, after the horrific incident in Kumba, Saturday, October 24, 2020, they all are saying enough is enough. Cameroon's international footballer Ngando Nganjui sends a distress cry to all Cameroonians, calling on actions geared at bringing peace to be put as priority for the country to once again remain as one.
Mes larmes et mes prières les accompagnent. Il est temps pour notre pays que cette guerre cesse. Il est temps que nous nous assions et pensions au Cameroun.
Barrister Akeremuna, in an outing, says it's the heart of the nation that has been touched with the recent killing in Kumba.
Mes plus sincères condoléances aux familles affligées. Qui peut expliquer ou encore moins comprendre que les plus protégés de toute société devraient devenir la cible d'une telle barbarie?
Some African artists have also joined their voices to the killing in Kumba. Some from Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Gabon, and other countries are praying for the victims, as well as calling for peace to return to the northwest and southwest region of Cameroon. At the national level, plans are on the way for artists to demonstrate in the coming days. A platform of artists fighting for peace in the southwest and northwest region was recently created. Over the weekend, journalists and artists met to see how they can forge ahead as they call for peace in the conflict-hit regions of Cameroon.
And panelists on the program Droit de Réponse on Equinoxe television yesterday equally condemned the killing of the students in Kumba in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and said that solutions should be provided to the Anglophone crisis as soon as possible, while some blamed the government for failing to bring solutions to the Anglophone crisis. Others are blaming secessionist fighters for worsening the situation. Details in this report compiled by Innocent Azi.
On the program Droit de Réponse on Equinoxe Television Sunday, October 25th, that focused on the Kumba School massacre, which left 7 school-going children dead. Malice Doualabel of the Citizen Party,
Les exagérations sans passion,
clearly termed the incident a terrorist act with the perpetrators crossing the red line.
nous devons d'abord nous arrêter et dire à nos frères qu'ils commencent à aller trop loin.
Another penalist, a legal mind, Barrister Desiree Sikati, reminds that President Paul Biya declared war on separatists.
Que le régime allait faire la guerre aux séparatistes. Tout le monde l'a écouté. Ça veut dire que le Nozo aujourd'hui est une zone de guerre.
He is baffled how children are ordered to resume school when their security will not be guaranteed.
À retourner à l'école sans s'assurer que l'armée a les moyens de protéger ces enfants-là dans les écoles.
Barrister Mustafa Ngwana, on his part, says
Je veux dire, aucun gouvernement ne gagne une guerre contre ses populations.
no government can win a war against its own citizens.
Les anglophones ont une culture de la revendication que nous, les francophones, n'avons pas.
Anglophones have a different revendication culture that francophones do not have. In 2016, when they started, no one, even us lawyers, did not support our Anglophone brothers and sisters when it was right. I say it and assume. I think if Francophones had joined them, we wouldn't have been here, but have a different situation.
Complètement différente.
Malice Doualabel comes back to say
Ce n'est pas une guerre facile.
the war in the northwest and southwest regions is not an easy one. Otherwise, it would have been long-ended. She thinks the head of state cannot encourage such barbarism and consider killing of innocent children as solution.
La solution n'est pas de tuer ces enfants qui sont enrôlés dans cette guerre.
Meantime, Barrister Desiree Sikati criticizes statements of Communication Minister Mother Franciscan International Bilingual Academy was operating clandestinely. To him, this is an irrelevant justification as activities are running abnormally in the war zones.
Que dans une zone de guerre, les activités ne peuvent pas se dérouler de façon normale.
The penalists who all condemn the killing of the 7 children also say it is right time to put an end to the senseless war through the appropriate means once and for all by the warring parties.
Le job des gouvernements, c'est d'être au paradis, c'est-à-dire c'est d'être efficace, performant et partout.
And speaking to the Inside on Equinoxe Television, Barrister Agwo Pongo Felix Bala, human rights lawyer, Vice President of the African Bar Association, President and founder of Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, said that the incident carries or bears the marks of non-state armed groups, and that this is because of the multiplicity of armed groups that are now operating in the 2 Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Take a listen to it.
We've analyzed the videos. It's clearly the work of non-state arms groups, okay? Being said and done that coming from non-state arms groups because of the multiplicity of non-state arms groups, you might not know the one that is doing things for the struggle or the ones that are doing it against the struggle. But this is not one of those things that you would put the blame on the military, okay? This is clearly, and let's not pretend. I am on social media. I followed what some of them are saying. It's difficult to fool everybody all the time. I expect everyone to condemn these gruesome killings of these innocent children in Kumba. This is unacceptable, and it's something that flies in the face of logic. It violates international humanitarian law, international human rights law, and just some principles of morality that in a conflict, kids should not be considered as a pawn, should not be a target. I personally strongly condemn it. And I think that those who are responsible should be brought to justice. But equally, it is unacceptable for a senior divisional officer or for the governor, to make statements that would lead to more violence, that would lead to the arrest or killings of innocent people, Due process must take its course. I understand that people would argue that, yes, the non-state actors who killed the kids did not give them due process. We are not in a jungle. The blind leading the blind, as Charles Dickens said in Hard Times, will lead to the murdering of the innocent. And also, if we follow an eye for an eye, everybody becomes blind, okay? Because you might go to Fiango, you might arrest 20 boys. You kill them. All of the 20 might not have been responsible, okay? And even if they are responsible, their degrees of responsibility might differ. As a state that is supposed to be responsible, you would try to do your investigation, try to arrest those who are responsible and bring them to trial. That's why we have courts. Okay, the decisions cannot be taken by the SG or by the governor. These decisions cannot be taken by the head of the military. It's the judges, it's the court that will pronounce whether somebody is guilty or not.
Hundreds of persons took to the streets in Kumba, Bafoussam, and Douala protesting and condemning the killing of the students in the Kumba and the killings in general going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the country within the context of the 4-year-long armed conflicts. And dressed in black, the people who took to the streets were calling for a return to peace and normalcy in the two English-speaking regions of the country. Details in this report by Immaculate Fogwe.
No to violence. Enough is enough. The population of Kumba say no to secessionist threats. Protect our children. We need pens and not guns. These are some of the messages brandished on placards as the angry population of Kumba, dressed in black and holding peace plans, protest in the streets, denouncing all the atrocities committed in their land. In the course of the peaceful protest, the population stormed the premises of a senior divisional officer from Mehmet Division and that of the city mayor of the town of Kumba, calling for an end to the Anglophone crisis.
Destroy the future of our children. Enough is enough. That is why all of you are here today to say enough is enough. Please, let us together stop this nonsense in Mehmet Division. As from today, what happened yesterday in Bamileke Street should never happen again. Yes. I want to tell you that neighbors saw these Amber boys going to the school to kill children. If the neighbors called the police, the gendarmes, or the military, would those children have been killed? No. Please call the forces of law and order when you find Amber loitering in your quartiers. Be your brother's keeper.
A similar protest march took place in the town of Bafoussam, chief town of the west region of Cameroon. The protest was spearheaded by the Christians and pastors of the evangelical church. They are calling for an end to the ongoing Anglophone crisis. The peaceful march comes few hours after several children were shot dead in their classrooms by unknown armed individuals in Kumba.
Condemnations are also coming from the Union des Populations du Cameroun, UPC, political party condemnations rising after the killing of the students in the Kumba. The National Secretary of the UPC spoke to us. Take a listen.
Nothing can justify what happened here. Kumba is a city which welcomed the founding fathers of our independence, and the independence of Cameroon came from here. That's why when Umyobe came here, stayed here with population, he discovered that he had enough to fight for the independence and the respect of the sovereignty of our entire nation. That's why when we hear that something which is very dangerous for the future of our nation happened here, even for our own life, we decided to travel and come here to support you. Never and never give up. God is there. God is in control. Nothing can justify what happened yesterday. We are here to support you. We are going to do our best to work for peace in our entire nation. You are not alone. We are with you, brother and sister.
Now, news out of Cameroon, there have been widespread looting incidents in several states across Nigeria as hundreds of young people continue to storm government stores as well as private properties to within the context of the unrest in the country sparked by anti-police brutality demonstrations. And the United Nations humanitarian coordinator in the country says some UN facilities, including vehicles, were also attacked in the southern city of Calabar by what he describes as vandals trying to discredit the anti-police brutality protests. He called on young people to exercise restraint in the northern state of Adamawa. A government spokesperson told the BBC that the stampedes during looting at government facilities left at least 5 people dead. Talking Point is up next. Thank you for joining us in Talking Point. Today we are receiving a member of Cameroon's lower house of parliament. Honorable Tabot Lawson is the member of parliament for Kumba Central constituency in the Meme Division, Southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Honorable, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Babila.
We equally have a second guest joining us from Germany, Dr. Ita Ewane. He is the coordinator of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, joining us today from Germany. Doctor, thank you for joining us today.
Talking Point today, we are receiving Parliament Honorable.
All right, we begin with you. Honorable Tabot Lawson, you're a member of Parliament, Kumba Central constituency. This incident occurred in your constituency, in the Kumba 2 subdivision.
Kumba, yeah.
In the Kumba 2 subdivision. What do you think about such an incident in your constituency at this point in time when there were indications that some relative peace was returning in some of the areas of the 2 Anglophone regions of the country?
Mr. Babila, I must say that it's a very unfortunate situation because life was not just, if I use the word becoming normal in Kumba, it means there is an understatement. We were okay in Kumba. Everything was moving on well until this unfortunate incident of Saturday, the Black Saturday in the history of our country and even in the town itself. And I want to say that nothing has ever touched the population of Kumba like that incident. Nothing. And I want to use this opportunity to condemn it to the last energy of mine and that of the population of Kumba. You can see what happened on the march we had on Sunday. The population came out to denounce that we are tired, and we are indeed tired. We are tired of the torments we are going through in the hands of our own brothers and sisters in the name of separatists, in the name of fighting to liberate the cause of the Anglophone. You cannot liberate me by punishing me. What, just tell me, Mr. Babila, what crime has those little children committed? Why? Why those children? Why at this time? Why at this time when we are forcing children to go to school? We are begging that, we are happy that at least after 4 years, these children could at least get into the classroom. Why now? Why and why Kumba?
This is the second or the first major incident that has occurred after the Garbu massacre of 14 February 2020 from Garbu, the Donga Mantum division, to Kumbatu subdivision. Is this an indication that the crisis is still very much volatile?
I can't say so. The life, like I said before, life was returning to normalcy in Kumba. We were fine, and I cannot equally say we were not living in fear, because those guys are always around. The separatists are always around, and I am saying that I don't even want to think about what happened in Gambo and linked it to Kumba, because it's a very, very unfortunate situation. Mr. Babila, you needed to see with your own eyes what happened. How on earth will somebody be this inhuman to take a gun at close range and then place it on children? You find that little guy, they score out everything, the brain. Look at the children in the hospital. When I visited them in the hospital in Boya, I saw a little girl, cartridges, the doctor was explaining cartridges, the two breasts were all damaged with cartridges. Tell me what degree of I've never seen that in all my life. All my life I've never seen a situation like this. We have seen countries who have gone to war, who have had crises, revolutions, and all the like. It has never happened to them. It has never.
Honorable, you are in Kumba, and certainly as a member of parliament, you equally have your ears and your eyes on the ground. Can you tell us a little more about what exactly happened in that school?
Thank you, Mr. Babila. One thing I must first of all say is that every information that is made public is a hearsay, because nobody, the little girl, the lone survivor who was there cannot give a true picture. But from eyewitness sources, say those guys came on a bike, or 3 or 4 bikes, and then went into the school compound, rallied students, and then removed guns, and then started firing on them. That's exactly what happened. I cannot exactly tell you the duration of the exercise, and I cannot tell you how long it took, the time it took for the exercise. But one thing is clear, that they were on the bike. They have about 3 or 4 bikes. They drove into the campus, and then the children were inside the classroom. So that's exactly what happened.
All right, Dr. Ita Ewane, coordinator of Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, joining us from Germany, is also condemning the killing of those students in Kumba. The Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora has issued a statement condemning what happened in the Kumba. Can we know a little more from you, Dr. Ita Ewane?
On the ground, can you tell us a little more about what exactly happened in that school?
Thank you, Mr. Babila. One thing I must first of all say is that every information that I hear say, because nobody, the little girl, the real survivor who was there cannot give a true picture. But from eyewitness sources,
some little communication issues there with Dr. Ita Ewane joining us from Germany. I came back to you, Honorable Talbot Lawson. What happened in Kumba is being condemned by everybody. It's been condemned from across the board, but at the same time, there are accusations and counter-accusations. The incident being attributed by some fellows, some people, to elements of the National Security and Defense Forces. Others saying they are the separatists who carried out the act. From your own findings, Barrister Agbobala told me that the incident bears the marks of non-state armed groups. What's your own opinion about this?
Yes, I think I share that opinion, because from what happened, from explanations, the guys who came there, they were not military people. Our military in Cameroon, the police, the gendarme, the army itself, the B, and the other special forces, they have uniforms that they put on, that they could be identified by those uniforms. And if you are accusing the military of coming to carry an act of that nature, you and I know that if a gendarme enters into this room, we will know that that's a gendarmerie officer for the state. If a police officer enters, you will know that that's a police officer. And then if a stranger comes in, you and I know that the separatist groups have no identification. They don't have a uniform. And so even if anything happens, it will be placed on them. It will be placed on them because it is not the first time. They are not identified as a people or by the color of their dress or whatever, like the Cameroonian military. So I, as an MP, I cannot tell you that what happened, it happens because it is the military that did the act. No, I am saying that, and it is the voice of my population, we are condemning the separatists. We are saying that they are the ones involved in the attack. And we are condemning it. We are saying that we are tired. The population of Kumba, we are tired. We are tired of, we don't live our lives any longer. We don't. We don't.
Those who are condemning, those who are attributing the incident to security and defense forces are saying that the soldiers are said to have put on civilian attire to commit that kind of act. And there are also some information that are attributed to this new divisional officer of the Meme division and so on. What if it turns out later that some of these things are true?
Yes, Mr. Babila, it is true. Nothing is impossible. But as I said, for now, the handwriting on the clock says it is the separatists. But I want to assure you that if it turns out that the comments that are being tilted towards the senior divisional officer for Meme, we will condemn it equally. He's a Cameroonian like us. He's a Cameroonian, but I want to tell you that that same senior divisional officer has worked tirelessly for the peace we enjoyed in Kumba and the forces of law and order. I don't believe, and I will not want to, even by any second, believe that the senior divisional officer for Kumba will engage in a plot of that manner to go and punish children in that manner. That guy's house has been attacked once, more than 3 occasions he has been attacked with his family. And I don't see Tundo Chamberlain to organize. What is the interest of the government to put a plot of that nature against school reopening? We know as an MP it is a must. We have been fighting that schools should resume, and if at the end of the day and schools are on, we should be thankful. How come now the government will be part of it? But I'm saying that if it is the government, if the government is involved, all the stories on the social media, on the prefect of Meme, we will condemn it. But I still want to tell you that the same prefect that I know as an MP, we collaborate. The same prefect that I know cannot, I want to tell you sincerely that he cannot be part of it. I don't have so much knowledge of manipulations of whether it's Snapchat or what snapshots or what on social media. But what I'm saying is that if it there comes out that the findings comes out that the state or the SGO is involved, we will condemn it. The match you have seen in Kumba, this one will be worse than that if it happens that way.
All right, we have indications that Dr. Eta Ewane is now in full connection with us. Dr. Eta Ewane, can we hear from you? Can we hear a little more about the statement of the Cameroon patriotic diaspora with regards to the killing of the students in Kumba?
Yes, Mr. Babila, thank you for this opportunity. And first of all, let me express the condolences of the Cameroon patriotic diaspora to the bereaved families and peace-loving people of Kumba who sought peace and were offered war. And if you permit me, Mr. Babila, I know we're having some problems with connectivity, so I just want to say a few things, some of which were already mentioned by Barrister Congo Felix. So I just want to remind those who committed this despicable act that schools and other education facilities are protected under 2 bodies of international law. That is the international humanitarian law and the international human rights law. So the international humanitarian law, or what is commonly referred to as the laws of war, provides protection for civilian objects such as schools from all parties involved in an armed conflict. The international human rights law, on the other part, which is applicable at times of war and peace, provides for the right of education. So those who committed this abominable act have infringed on the right of education of the children of Kumba. And the right to education is a fundamental human right. Every child, irrespective of their gender, their ethnic or social origin, their religious or political affiliation, age or disability, is entitled to education. So this is a right that has been universally recognized since the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. And it has since been enshrined in various international conventions signed by the government of Cameroon. And it's also enshrined in our national constitution and various development plans put in place by the regime. So I just want to say, those who launched the attack on the school in the Mother Francisca International Memorial School in Kumba is an attack on the right to education, as this attack can lead to children dropping out of school. It can lead to reduced enrollment in schools in Kumba and lower rates of transition. So the ability of children to obtain an education in a safe and nurturing environment is being disrupted right now by activities of the armed forces of Cameroon and the different armed groups who target schools. I am deeply saddened. The CPD strongly condemns this attack, and we are calling on the authorities in Cameroon to take their responsibility, though we are very cognizant of the fact that responsibility to the government of Cameroon is a strange word. But we are inviting the government of Cameroon at this time to take its responsibility by conducting thorough investigations and bringing to justice all those who are involved in this abominable act.
Dr. Etaiwane, why do you say that responsibility to the government of Cameroon is a strange word? Are you in any way saying that the government has failed in its responsibility as far as the protection of those students are concerned? I should recall that the Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson Rene Emmanuel Sadi said the school was a clandestine school, so the government wasn't aware of the existence of that school, according to the statement of Minister Rene Emmanuel Sadi.
Yeah, Mr. Babila, if you remember since the start of this crisis, the CPD has always advocated for the return to school. This is because we strongly believe that the right to education is fundamental and that every child deserves to go to school. At the same time, we raised concerns over the security situation in the two Anglophone regions. So we called on the government on several occasions to create an enabling environment that will ensure that a child that goes to school will return home alive. The government made promises, the government made pledges that they will secure schools. Now, the incident in Kumba, the side event in Kumba, has clearly demonstrated, again, that the government has failed to protect the schools. The government has failed in its responsibility to ensure that these children go to school under safe conditions. So, and what we see, the silence of the #1 personality in Cameroon again further confirms the fact that Cameroon has been set on autopilot mode. So Cameroon is without leadership right now. At this very crucial moment, the head of state has still not come out to address the people. So this is a nation without leadership. And I think that's why we at the CPD are strongly advocating. We have made regime change our leitmotif. So we need a change in the Yaoundé because it is clear right now, and it has always been, that the man that has been entrusted with the responsibility to ensure that Cameroon, public life in Cameroon is on the right path has failed to assume these responsibilities, and so it is time for change.
We'll come back to you in a short while, Dr. Etaiwane.
We want them to be safe. Every child that goes to school to return safely, we first of all have to do away with the regime in Yaoundé because they cannot protect our children. We make the government responsible for what has happened in Cameroon. Whoever is behind this attack, whether it is the armed groups or the military, the government in Yaoundé is responsible because they fail to provide security to educational institutions.
I'll come back to you in a short while, Dr. Itawe. I will come back to you in a short while. Honorable Tabot Lawson, the coordinator of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, seems to be blaming the government. According to him, the government has failed in its responsibility to protect those children.
Mr. Babila, I don't think so. I differ with him. Yes, the government accepted to protect its citizens, the children, during the period of back to school. You can understand. You cannot place a police officer in every school. Then we are not going to cope. But the problem here is, before this incident, before this total reopening, we had schools in Cuba. Their schools have been going on. We've written the A-level and the advanced level certificates. You understand? Schools have been going on. But the problem we are saying here is whether there were police officers in school or military people in schools to protect the children, the act must be condemned by all. The act of going to school and pointing a gun on children is an act that has to be condemned. Talk less of shooting them. Any normal man in his normal senses, as you and I are sitting here, Babila, if you are called while we are on this program that they have attacked the school where your children are, will you continue this program? Will you find it normal? Will it be normal for you? It is something that everybody should condemn. I just heard Dr. Ewane talking of regime change. It has nothing to do with regime change. This incident has nothing to do with regime change. Nothing. I am not here as a CPD and parliamentarian. I am an MP for a people. When you are elected, you are elected. A representative of the people. And I want to tell you, Mr. Babila, this action, what has taken place in Kumba, should be condemned by all. I am saying that it should be condemned by all political parties. All. And even the international community. We are watching to see. Because everything that happens, everybody, the government is told, the government has stayed for too long, the government is this. This is what we are waiting for them to condemn. They should condemn. Because these people who are perpetrating these acts in Cameroon are all living in foreign countries with foreign protection. We are saying that it is high time. It is high time those countries, ambassadors or country representatives of those countries where these people are living, they should start seeing how they can punish them. They should be punished. They should be punished. A man who takes his gun and goes to where children are, Mr. Babila, has nothing to do with the government. He has nothing to do with the government. Be it if the person who did it carried out this act is from the government or from the separatist population, it should be condemned. The first thing is to start by condemning the act, that it is barbaric. It is unheard of, Mr. Babila. It has nothing to do with regime change. It has nothing to do with regime change. First things first, this act must be condemned. That everybody on both sides, they should know that what has happened is not good.
Now you and other persons, including of course the city mayor of Kumba and other authorities in the town of Kumba and the population, you took to the street calling for an end to all of these atrocities. When you take such an action, what else should come to accompany this action so that it should yield the desired fruits? Because just taking to the streets is not enough.
Yes, Mr. Babila, that's true. We've had occasions where people have taken onto the street in different towns, apart from Kumba. Even in Kumba, it has happened before. But I want to say that the incident that took place in Kumba on Saturday called for that march. And let me use this opportunity to thank the administration of Kmer, the city mayor-elect, for the mobilization, because it was necessary. We have done our part as a people, but what we are asking now is that the government too should take its responsibility in full sense. There have been some lacks. That is the truth. That is just the truth. The government has not taken this whole issue serious. And I want to tell you that, Mr. Babila, some people, because they don't live in the southwest and northwest, don't seem to understand the gravity of what we are going through. Yes, that is the truth. We pray that the government should take it serious. I don't know how it's going to carry out, but the government should get up from its sleep, because upon all what the government has been doing for this crisis, it seems we are going backward instead of going in front. Because when there is no peace, peace is priceless, Mr. Babila. When there is no peace, nothing can take up. There's no development that can go through without peace. And I'm saying that the government has been doing a lot to see that peace returns to the northwest and southwest. But when incidents of this kind come up, it means that the government should step up its effort.
More has to be done.
More has to be done. That is it.
What's the situation of those children who were hospitalized?
I must say that when I last visited the hospital yesterday, the two cases in Boya and Limbe, the two cases in Boya in particular, were critical. But the boy, by the time I left the hospital in the night, the boy was responding to treatment very well. The girl child was still having some bleeding, and Dr. Mokake, the director of the hospital, actually explained to us the process, and that it will take about 10 to 15 days for the little girl to come back to its normal health, to the normal self. But I pray that God should touch, because it is all in the hands of God. The doctors have done, yes, we too have done, but all we look forward to is God, that God should intervene in the life of those children.
We pray for speedy recovery. And last word from Dr. Eta Ewane in Germany before we go. Doctor, you were talking about a change of regime, but honorable things, that is not a problem of a regime. There is something else that has to be done by those who are in authority now. In your opinion, what are some of the immediate actions that can be taken now by those who are in authority to prevent such an occurrence?
Very question, but before I answer you, let me briefly react to the comment made by the previous speaker. Now, this overgeneralizations about people of the diaspora promoting violence in Cameroon is misplaced. Now, you have been following up the CPD for a very long time, and you know we've always advocated for a peaceful resolution of the crisis in Cameroon, and that we've been against any form of violence. And we issued out a statement yesterday strongly condemning the act, the despicable act that has taken place in Kumba. We condemn it without mixing words. But what we are saying, and we call on the government, the first step right now is to conduct a thorough investigation to ensure that those who committed this abominable act are brought to justice. And the second thing the government needs to do, I mean, the government was aware that this kind of incidents were going to have take place, because while there were voices rising up in the diaspora calling for a return to school, there were several other voices sending out threats to whoever dares to go to school. So the government should have put in place measures to ensure that the schools are safe. We want children to go to school, but they should go to schools in safe environments. So the government should secure all the schools and conduct thorough investigations and bring to justice whoever is involved.
Thank you.
The previous speaker, he lives in the Southwest. I am a native of the Southwest. I am in pain right now. I talk with a lot of emotions because I'm touched. I have been touched by this crisis in several ways. And there's no way, I live in a peaceful environment, there's no way I can promote violence in Cameroon. We of the CPD have been promoting and have been working hard to search for peaceful resolution of the crisis in Cameroon. So the government should take its responsibilities and ensure that the justice system works to bring all those who are involved to justice.
Thank you, Dr. Itai Wane, coordinator of Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, joining us from Germany. Honorable Tabo Lawson, Member of Parliament for Kumba Central Constituency. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. The pleasure was mine.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.
De lundi à